Hello and welcome. You're viewing the Citizens Journalist podcast, Mesa County Compass, that brings you the news that you can use from a different point of view. I'm Ruth.
I'm Lisa.
And together we are Mesa County Compass. Our goal is to create an informed, current, active citizenry armed with the facts. We will be covering what's new to you, what it means to you, what you can do about it, and provide you access to the decision makers when we can. Good afternoon. We're here with Mesa County Compass, and this afternoon we have the pleasure of interviewing Miss Aimee Tucker. She is a community advocate for Montrose, Dolores,
West End, Montrose County. Yeah.
So anyway, Aimee, give us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with all of this.
Oh, how I got involved with all this. So a little bit about myself. My husband and I have a few businesses in the town of Nucla. He's an electrical contractor, and he works mostly in Telluride Mountain Village. So that has, afforded us the opportunity to buy property and renovate and to open businesses. And so we do that together, and we've got I've got a daughter from a previous marriage, and we've got 3 kids together, so that keeps us pretty dang busy.
Yeah.
I also represent Montrose County on the Southwest Basin Roundtable for water. Very interested in water and water rights. I also represent Montrose County on the Club 20 Board of Directors, and I'm also on the Public Lands and Natural Resources Subcommittee. So that's been really interesting to me.
Busy lady.
Busy, very busy. And then, the Historical Society keeps me busy. And
Right.
I'm also on the Office of Just Transition Advisory Committee. So I like to rattle that cage up there and make sure that we're getting everything that we're due and that they are paying attention to the only community that has, closed the coal plant and coal mine and has transitioned and has lost, in some cases 67%, in other cases 57% of our property taxes. And so fighting for the community and opportunities up there is really important to me.
It is indeed.
Yes,
It is
yes.
indeed.
So, yeah.
So that you called it just transition, like we're justly trying to transition, right?
Or just do it our way, transition. Yes.
Yeah, because I know last time you came on, you were really fighting for that.
Yeah.
And so how many people live in Nucla now?
Oh, in Nucla, in the town, probably about 500. In the area, more about 1,500, 1,600.
Okay.
Nucla, Natarita, Paradox, Bedrock, Red Bell. We're spread out. So a little bit in town and a lot in county. Yeah.
Well, last time you came on, we were with Halt the Dolores, and I just listened to that again today.
Oh.
And it was just to get a reminder, and I thought, you were so articulate and successful.
Yeah.
That did halt the Dolores, and there were a lot of issues that you brought up about why it was so important to halt that national monument. It was mining, that critical minerals was a big thing, and it was 500,000 people coming into Nucla because they were going to make it all recreation instead, and it was tying up. There was a little bit on water, how it would be used, and the fact that you don't get that much water every single year. And critical minerals was just the mining, mining that was going to be denied if they did that. And that was a federal government. That, to me, and you were very successful in getting that stopped before it could be just turned over with a signature.
Right.
And that was scary. It seems to me like GORP is very similar. And I don't understand on that, because if you tie up lands, especially wilderness areas where you can't get in, you're not allowed to get on the road because that's a wilderness area, and it seems to me like that, and it's permanent. I didn't like the idea that it's permanent takeover. So it seems to me you feel differently about GORP than you did about the Dolores Monument.
Yes.
And why is that? Because there are different groups. I've read pros and cons on both sides, although the pro seems to be there's no concrete details of what it just says. you know, it would be a nice idea. There's not going to be any harm, but I don't know that the harm has been looked at. And it seems to me like it is not good for the Western Slope.
Long-range consequences.
Okay. Well, and the difference between those would be the Antiquities Act of 1906, the swiping of the pen by the president with no, regard for the local communities, things like that. That's where we really, really struggled.
Right.
Is something was happening to us and we had no control over it. With GORP, it was an ongoing process for 10 years. These counties and communities and user groups all got together over 10 years to pick out those details, to pick out the wilderness areas, the special management areas, and why those special management areas are important, and why the scientific and education.
And I do want to go through each of those, why they are important.
I think before we even start that,
We better say what GORP is.
We better, yes, exactly.
We know what GORP is.
We know what GORP is, but let's tell our
The
listeners.
Gunnison Outdoor Resource Protection Act. And that was led by Senator Bennett at the time. And his aides, but those communities really came together to form that, to make sure that those user groups weren't going to suffer. And if you look at the maps,
which communities?
all of the counties, the towns, I've got the list on my phone. There's a whole list on their website. They have a pretty nice website. Came together to make those decisions and to make sure that nobody was negatively harmed. So the process with that was a 10-year process, bringing all those people together at the same table. The monument wouldn't be that way. It would just be, here's the proposal, sign it, and you're done, and there's no discussion. What was really great about the monument is, these people reached out and said, you know what you need? You need this process called coordination. I'm like, what's coordination? So I started digging, and so coordination is the answer to all of these issues that we're going through right now with our public lands. So what coordination is, it's a government-to-government process. The local municipalities and the local communities were never meant to be subservient to the federal government.
No.
Coordination means equal to, not subordinate to. And if you read the Federal Lands Management Policy Act and the U.S. Forest Service Act, even the Endangered Species Act, the National Environmental Policy Act, all those have coordination requirements. And we're not being coordinated with. We're being told that we can comment, and your comments will be in the resource management plan. That is not how that is supposed to work. Garfield County has a great coordination plan and policy in place. There are other coordinating counties in California, in Nevada, and Idaho, or Washington, California, and Idaho, that use coordination. So coordination, these federal land management agencies have to come to these municipalities and say, what are your local strategies? What are your local plans? And how can we make our plans consistent with yours? They legally have an obligation to do that. It says in FLPMA, the Secretary of Interior shall coordinate. And I don't believe that's being done appropriately. And that's where I'm at. And that's where, so coordination is a process, collaboration is a process, and cooperation is a process. So as a cooperating agency, these municipalities get to give data, they get to give research, and that's included in the resource management plan. Collaboration means bringing all the user groups, the conservation groups together to help plan the processes for that. But at the end of the day, the federal land management agencies have to make their plans consistent with the locals. And that's where I'm, preaching to the choir. And making sure, what I'm doing now is pushing the federal government, I'm pushing HERD pretty hard, and other counties to adopt these policies, these coordination policies, and making sure that the federal government is adhering to them. So what I would love to see from Congress is a directive that says the Department of Interior, the Secretary of the Interior, will put in these resource management plans and SOPA plans the processes they used to coordinate with the municipalities, to collaborate with the user groups, and the cooperation they had. So I want those 3 processes separated out in the resource management plans. That way we can hold our federal agencies, land management agencies, accountable for making sure that they're following FLPMA. And so
Why can't we do that now? I mean, what's stopping, if that's already in there,
Yeah.
why don't we just shine a light on that and say, this is not happening?
The counties and the municipalities have to invoke the coordination process. They have to, and that's one thing that the West End has done. So last year, I worked with both the towns, and they both passed resolutions invoking coordination with the federal land management agencies. And then the BLM, you know, we worked with them for months on a letter of agreement. And they signed a letter of agreement that they will coordinate with the towns.
That's
and
right.
so it's awesome. And so what we're doing now with the West End Vision Plan, which is a really great thing our community has been working on for the last almost year. They've put those things into the plan and coordination processes. But that's where I'm at, is no matter what GORP does, no matter what a national monument does, they still have to coordinate with those local municipalities. They can't just willy-nilly do whatever they want to do. But
Well,
it's
it
time
seems
for the
like
municipalities
they've already
to,
done that.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it's like
it doesn't seem
you
like
can
that's
you
had
can
an
comment.
impact. I
Yeah.
can put a law in, but if it's not enforced, then it's
And that's where I'm at.
absolutely
I
no
want it
good.
enforced. I want congressional directive to the Secretary of Interior for that. And I'm going to continue to push for that. Yeah, I've been, you know, really digging into Garfield counties. You know, they have a great relationship with their land management agencies. It's really worked out well for them. And so I want to see that everywhere. I've been trying to get with Montrose County. Of course, Mr. Pond doesn't love me very much, so he won't let me go in there and present on this process. But I'm going to keep clipping along now
Well,
that the
what do you-
recall was successful.
What do you mean he won't let you
He won't let me talk
at all
At all.
the meeting?
Yeah. But now that Scott Maharas is gone, maybe I'll get to present this process. And that's where I'm at, is I want people to sit down. I want our land management agencies to abide by their own rules. Even the state of Colorado, in their rules, have different definitions for cooperation, coordination, and collaboration.
Well, that would be true.
Yeah, so let's do it. Let's do it the correct way. So even if GORP goes through, they still have to sit down with the local municipalities and coordinate those plans.
So GORP going through still means a stroke of the pen, as far as I'm concerned. I don't see,
That's a congressional, they have to approve that through Congress.
right?
We
It's
know
not a,
that.
yeah, it's
But-
not a,
But I don't see any advantages to the Western Slope to have GORP.
No.
I can't see how that helps us, and that is where we need to maintain the local control, it seems
that's
like.
exactly right, because we need to maintain local control.
And that's exactly what I was trying to get to, was that was local control to
Yep.
me is supreme.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We live there, we know the land. You know, these ranchers and farmers know the water, and they could look at the mountain and tell you how much snowpack they're gonna have for the next year. I mean,
That and the grazing rights
it's a-
and all of that
yeah.
kind of stuff, that
yeah.
you can go in but you can't come out type
Yeah.
thing, you know.
These municipalities have responsibilities for road and bridge, for law enforcement, for infrastructure, and that all takes property taxes and sales tax. And so making sure that those are not harmed in any way with any of these designations is super important.
Right.
And I don't see that you can see that if you're in Congress. You're not in Colorado looking at what's best for Colorado. A lot of those laws seem like, well, it's not going to be a big impact in Ohio, like you said, or in
It seems
New
insignificant.
Jersey. Or,
We are insignificant to them. And so what makes you think that Mr. Hurd is going to be any different than anybody else?
Well, he's certainly willing to listen, and he's certainly willing to read the research that I've done and the processes. His aides are very interested, and And it's not just, me bringing this. This is something that has been going on for a while. American Stewards of Liberty, Margaret Byfield has been working on this coordination process. American Policy Center, Fred Kelly Grant, he wrote a huge book on it that I read. And then I've had, different advisors that have used coordination. Fred Jarman from Garfield County, the manager, he emailed me immediately and said, it is a federal obligation, Aimee. It is not a local obligation. You always need to remember that when you're talking. It is a federal obligation to coordinate. And so, I'm really, preaching that out there that we have these laws in place. Let's use them and let's invoke that coordination process and make them sit at the table with us because they have to. That's why, GORP may not have had this, coordination process in place with these, but that's what it was. It was coordinating with the local municipalities and the local towns and their tax districts. At the end of the day, they're the ones that are responsible for it. So if they screw it up, I'm sure their constituents are going to tell them that they screwed it up. But at the end of the day, they still have to coordinate. And the user groups and the list of conservation groups, the snowmobilers and the hunters and anglers, they all sat down at those tables and went over maps and went over plans to make sure that it was something that everybody could get on board with. So I really struggle with the rhetoric against GORP and HERD's involvement with GORP.
But obviously there is that rhetoric,
Yes.
and
Very-
there is
Yes.
that people either don't understand or just flat out don't want. And I feel like they're not being heard as to why they are opposed to this. And one thing that really bothers me in the plan is the amount of acreage that it's going to involve, and the wilderness being, because remember when you came on, the whole thing of Biden's was 30 by 30.
Yeah.
And this feels a little bit like 30 by 30 to me. That wilderness areas, and the fish that we're protecting, remember you said, well, the only fish that's protecting is the suckers, and we don't need that. And we just see things like that even in Grand Junction, that
Yes.
they created a little lazy river that comes down in the park.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, interesting, but it runs for just a very short period of time and not very much water because we are protecting a fish. So you spend so much money and saying, this is what we're going to have. And July 4th, there is
Nothing.
Wow.
So it's, I think intentions can be really good and saying, we need to protect this, but another area is
You know
like
what
the
the
gray
saying
wolves.
is?
Yeah.
The road to hell is
Yeah,
paved with good
Paved
intentions.
with good intentions.
So
Well, and like the wolves, this is my understanding, I could be wrong, but if you have, say you have oil and gas exploration, and you have a wolf that has a den on your property, then you have to stop that oil and gas because the wolf in that area takes precedent over the oil and gas industry because we're so environmentally
it's an endangered
protected.
species. So
that we
Yeah.
reintroduced. And
Yes.
so I'm like, I think we can have, and I think we do have already, we have thoughtful designations of, if you are doing mining, you have to reclaim the land after you're done. And it's not so much that I'm anti-herd or I just am not convinced that there's a need for this, except what you're saying in that they need to live up to what laws are already in place.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
So-
coordination thing may be something that is necessary, I agree,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure the reason it came about is a good reason.
Yeah. When I was digging into the BLM manuals and things like that, the manual for a national conservation area is 20 pages long. It's 20 pages long.
It should be easy to read and understand.
It was very easy to read and understand. It's what you make of it. So it's whoever is sitting down drafting the plan, that is what they make of it. So if the local municipalities, if the local communities are leading that charge, they can surely protect or even conserve or even specially manage the areas that they feel need to be specially managed. And so that's, you know, it's those NCAs are what you make of it. Same thing with the National Monument, 20 pages long is the manual. It's what whoever is drafting that plan makes of it. And
or whoever is under that plan, because we see the same thing in our comp plan, that it makes a broad spectrum, and then the policies that come in that may not necessarily reflect the community are decided by a very small group, and then they say, oh, well, we have to implement this, but what does that really mean? It's not specifically written out so that you can put your teeth in, but everything that they do, well, our sustainability and adaptation plan is based on the comp plan. Our transit plan is based on the comp plan, but it's an interpretation, like you said.
Right.
So,
And a lot of this stuff is put to the people, it's actually put to the people after the fact. It's all planned out and ready to go, and then they say, what do you think about this? Great, isn't it? And away they go.
Yeah, you
There's
can
no-
comment.
yes.
We'll take your comments and we'll put your comments in this nice little book. We don't have to listen to you,
Right.
but technically they do have to listen.
Well,
And that's
technically,
where-
but
And that's where I'm just like, you dang well better listen, because that's what the laws say. And what got out of hand is back in the 70s when all these laws were written, the federal government wrote it very specifically and put coordination and cooperation in very specific areas of that, because they knew that at some point the federal government was going to overshadow the local communities, and then it was going to be chaos, in which it is now. So what happened is the ones that they used to collaborate with, the NGOs, the environmental groups, the user groups, they started suing the federal government.
right.
So then they've got lots of money to do that. So they're suing for every little thing that they can think of if a cow steps on an arrowhead. I mean, it's just that petty.
Ridiculous.
And so people just need to know where their place is. You are a collaborator. You are not responsible for the property taxes in this town. That's why we coordinate with the municipalities, because they're responsible for the people here. You're a collaborator, know your place, stay in your lane.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Stay in your lane.
Such a simple
It is,
concept.
it is such a simple concept.
Such a hard thing
and so
to
that's
come
where
to.
I'm at is I want those specific processes pointed out in the resource management plans. I want to know how the Federal Land Management Agency sat down with Gunnison County. I want to know how they sat down with Delta County. I want to know what Delta County's concerns were and how the federal government
Address those.
address those. There needs to be some measuring metrics there to make sure that the federal government, those land management agencies, are coordinating correctly. There has to be accountability, and right now there's no accountability. There's no process in those management plans that say, this is how we sat down with the town of Nucla, and this is how we sat down with Montrose County, and they had this plan and local strategy, and this is what we suggested, and this is what we came up with together. That's what needs to happen, and that's what I want, is I want a congressionally directed coordination process for our land management agencies.
So how close do you feel you are, Aimee?
I'm just still opening my mouth and writing
But
articles.
look what you did
and
last time.
the last time I opened my mouth, yeah, no, that was a crazy last year. I'm, we were pretty
Just
relieved
thankful. Yeah.
that it was over. Right now, we've got the West End Vision Plan that we're working on. It's an awesome plan. I read the draft yesterday. I can't wait for it to be out there. And it's a vision for our community, and it was created by our community. Community builders came in and put everything in the right columns and asked the right questions. And this plan is going to be the determining factor of our future. So when we sit down and do these things, we can say this is our plan. It would have been nice to have, if before the monument, because then we can say, this is not our plan. Our plan was never to have a national monument in our front yard. So having this Weston Vision Plan, it's going to be a really, really great thing for the community, a really great tool.
And I guess I'm a little hesitant on any vision plans that anybody comes up with, because I hear experts coming in, but what do the people think? And just being able to hear the whole story, this is what we want to do, this is going to be the impact if we do this.
Your experts should be local.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be outsiders.
Well, and there's people that have skills and abilities that we just don't have in our community. You know, the way that they set it up.
I question that. We don't have those abilities?
No, we do have those abilities, but as part of Just Transition, as part of our community going through the booms and busts, this is something that we felt we needed to do. And so the plan is not moving us into 15-minute cities and closing up our public lands. Nowhere in that plan does it say that.
But it doesn't say that in a lot of plans, but that is the direction that it creates.
But that's not the direction that our community has created.
Well, good.
Our community is smarter than that.
Well,
we're not going to
good.
go, oh my God, why are you getting rid of sidewalks? Or why are you getting rid of the street? Or why are you closing up? That is not what it is at all. And our community is full of smart people. This is not some liberal globalist agenda like Mr. Pond likes to say it is,
Well,
to shut us down.
2030, you even said 2030 plan. That is a globalist agenda.
But our vision plan is not a globalist agenda. Our
So-
vision plan is a vision for our community's future.
So what is in the vision plan, and what community members were part of making it? Community members on all sides that said, hey, we're sitting down, because I'm not saying anything about yours plan, but I know that in our plan, it was during 2020, it was during COVID, nobody knew anything about it. They said, well, we picked these people and these people and these people, here's the plan, it's in development, and now it's passed, and now this is the direction that we're going to take. But we didn't even know that was going on. That we didn't even know, because nobody invites you in.
Wow.
Sometimes it's the lack of invitation of not the experts, but the people that will be impacted.
These were all
by
public
this.
meetings. These were all in,
Well, ours were
nobody
all
was
public
invitation only.
Ours
Everything
were
was
too,
open.
but
Ours were too, but
they were
if
not
you don't
advertised.
know-
They were not out there so everybody could hear them.
Is this the Grand Junction City Council thing? Or was it a...
It was,
Was
a
it?
city,
It was,
it was
yes.
a city
Okay.
council thing at the time, back in 2020. But it's just an ongoing thing. So you can say that, I mean, they can say we had public input, but if the public didn't know there was something going on to input about, then, and you can say it was transparent. Let me give you an example on our, and I know it's way off topic.
No, I love...
But like on the Sustainability and Adaptation Plan, they said, well, we included the public. We had pop-ups where we did that, 2 of them.
Oh my
And
Lord.
guess where the pop-ups were? Downtown on Farmers Market. Well, how many people how did you engage with? And at the public library. Okay, we're talking about the entire city. We did 2 pop-ups, and we did an open house.
Oh my goodness.
And we had places where you could put your stickers as to whether you thought that was good. Ta-da!
But you
my
didn't
Lord.
have any choice. You had 5 choices. I should say you did have 5 choices. Pick one. You don't have any input that way.
Wow. Wow.
So
Yeah.
We're
just
very skeptical.
Yeah,
Yes.
well,
about
I would be
anything
too
like
if
that.
I were you. That sounds very
So
sketchy.
we're just wondering, how did you advertise? How did you come up with a vision? Who all was involved? Who didn't feel like they had a voice? Because that would be Ruth and I.
Yeah,
We didn't
well,
have
we're
any
so
voice
small
in
of
your
a
vision.
community
Yes.
Your
that
vision plan.
Come on,
Darn
Amy, you
it.
didn't invite
Yeah,
us.
I know.
It went on without us, even knowing.
We're such a small community that we knew when things were going on.
Oh.
But they advertised very well. There was multiple. I mean, they were here during the summer at all of our festivals. They
And
had
who's-
open
who's
houses.
they?
This is West End Economic Development Corporation, and the community builders are the ones that have written the plan for
And
us.
who is West End?
West End Economic Development Corporation. So, so that is our economic development It branched off from the Chamber of Commerce and the Visitor Center back in 2014.
And the visitor center where? In Nukla?
In Natarita.
Natarita.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So now it's the Chamber and Visitor Center, and then Weedsea's a separate entity. We needed to separate those out. Bringing businesses in rather than advertising for the businesses. And Weedsea's a 501c3. And how I know how much Weedsea works so hard is I was president for 10 years.
Oh, there you go.
You know, I resigned last May to fight off the monument.
Yeah, I remember you
You know,
saying that.
and it was like that was a pretty hard one for me to give up because I loved what we were doing. You know, bringing in businesses, helping small businesses grow. You know, getting them access to capital. We had an EDA grant that we were working off, so we had a brand new co-working space, commercial kitchens that people could come in and use. But as part of our transition, and we needed this vision plan to make sure that as a community we were in the same boat and we were going the same place, and we were all steering the same. Many community members, I think over 600. Participated in this. And so it was in Norwood, it was in Nukla, it was in Natarita, and when those girls came down, I mean, they were there for days and days. So they had multiple
and
Zoom
girls
meeting
were
community builders.
And who are the community builders?
They're the ones that they do these plans for communities all over the place.
And where'd they come from?
One girl's out of Paonia, and I think they're out of Breckenridge maybe? I'll have to look that one up. But a lot of Zoom meetings. They had community members that were ambassadors, so they helped lead the groups. And so it was just, you know, we've got business incentives, and we've got, you know, this whole public lands coordination thing. We've got, they've spelled it all out, and so all of these different components, and here's what we need to advertise for here. And what is important to you? What are the values of this community that you want to see? And of course, public lands is the top of our list. You know, we value that more than anything there. And so we don't want to see that, destroyed or locked up, or we want everything that's managed that way to be community-led, and that's what that vision plan is. It's a community-led vision. It has nothing to do with 15-minute cities. It has nothing to do with solar panels. It has nothing to do with windmills or making people bike to work.
So energy, you know, energy would be, is there anything to do on how you develop energy? Because when we last talked, you were talking about we have to have the nuclear. I mean, there's a lot of interest in nuclear as being a big source.
Yes.
And safe mining, because you know that's what people remember, the glowing of the 50s.
Yep.
We gotta shut you down.
Yep. My mom was born in your van.
No, your
She says I glow
gonna,
in the dark.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the health and safety of the workers. And so, how is that addressed in your vision plan, that you want to protect those industries and those critical minerals from being...
Yep, that's a very big part of our, part of our vision.
And the water.
Yes.
Yeah.
The water.
And the water. Our water
Yeah.
rights.
Water.
Yeah, our water rights are very, very important. And so, yeah, we'd love to have some storage.
How many counties are affected by this, and how many
For the
on this
vision?
GORP?
On the GORP?
On the, well,
Or on the vision?
I guess the vision would
Yeah,
be the
vision
big thing.
first, and
Yes.
So it's West End Montrose County, and then West End San Miguel County. So Norwood is involved in that.
Okay, thank you for saying that, because anytime they say West End, I'm going,
Yeah. On the other side of the mountain.
Yeah, okay.
We're like a whole different country over there.
Yes, you
know.
are.
We really are, and you know, we like it that way. We love the solitude. We love the remoteness.
you love Norwood Hills.
Oh
so
my
that
gosh,
you
I
can
don't
drive
love
up
North
there.
Hill. The mountain's open. We're gonna go home over the mountain. You know.
Good.
Yeah, you know, we really value that solitude, and we will protect that at all costs. You know, and we really, you know, we want people to visit, but we want people to visit that appreciate what we have, appreciate our culture, appreciate our history,
And not try to change you.
and not try to change us. And so that's what we need to advertise is we do want visitors, but you are going to respect our backyard while you're here.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah, stay in your lane. If you want to collaborate, that's one thing. But it's not legally binding, that
Yes,
collaboration.
yes.
So,
Right.
but that coordination is.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think, see, you've kind of convinced me that maybe the plan's okay, you know.
It's okay. It's okay. I want the process spelled out. Clearly, they did that over 10 years with the communities, but I want to see that in the resource management plans. And the resource management plans, if you really look at them, it's like, well, how do we take care of this little spot here that we got that's really, really cool, that needs a little bit of love, or, you know, that's what it is. It's just spelling out how to take care of that little area. I do see, you know, things getting clinched down later and later, you know, as things progress, and, you know, 10 years from now it might look different, but it shouldn't look different. Because if we have those rules in place that the federal agencies have to coordinate with the local municipalities, those local municipalities vote for their leaders. They vote for the county commissioners, they vote for their trustees, they trust them with taking care of them. And so that's where the responsibility lies, is with the elected officials. And so to make sure that those plans are adhered to, and that the federal land management agencies are doing what they're supposed to be doing with the plans that are consistent with that council, with that municipality, then that's what I want.
So did all of this come about to you, where you got very concerned about all of this because of the Stop Halt the Dolores? Is that when you started looking into this?
Yes.
And saying,
I had a
Oh.
lady reach out to me in April of last year, and she said, you know what you need? You need coordination. I'm like, lady, what are you talking about?
yeah,
What are you talking about? And the more I dug into it, it was like, oh, that's exactly what we need to be promoting. And so I did. I dug in. I had lots of Zoom meetings with the American Policy Center. I had advisors, Tom DeWeese. You know, I'd love to sit down with Margaret Byfield and pick her brain, but I've got all of her books.
And I don't know who Margaret
So she,
Byfield is.
her family led the Sagebrush Rebellion back in Nevada in the day.
Yes.
And
Okay.
so she is now out of Texas, and she is a very weird. She doesn't agree with conservation easements. I don't either, and I'll tell you why. And she is very much of a believer in the coordination process, and she's written 2 books about that. I've got both those books. I had to track them down. By God, but I got them. But just amazing. The people have been working on this coordination process, and so it's just, we need to get the word out there that there is this process that can be utilized, and it will solve all of these problems, 99% of the issues that we have, you know. And, you know, same thing with the wolf and things like that. You know, the Endangered Species Act, they're supposed to be, you know, cooperating with the local municipalities. No, that's not what the NEPA
They
did.
override you.
They did. Legally, they're not allowed to do that. So NEPA, when they did the NEPA study for the wolves, they should have sat down, according to NEPA, with the local municipalities and coordinated that NEPA process. And they didn't do that. All they did was say, you can comment and we'll listen to you if we want to. Of course, that was the administration at the time. But no, that NEPA process for the wolves was not followed the way it should have been.
So what is wrong with going to, like, to our Department of the Interior and saying, look, this is what's been happening to us on the western slope, and getting them involved and saying, this isn't being adhered to, nor has it been adhered to for this amount of time?
I'd love to.
Why
I'd love
has
to.
that been
Well, I'm
presented or
trying to
done?
go through our congressman. You know, that's kind of his job. You know, same thing with the senators.
He's creating a bill that takes away and makes it federal. That's a problem. You're wanting to say we need local control that we already have that's not being addressed. I see that as being totally different,
Yes.
entirely. And he should be helping you accomplish that. Oftentimes we don't need more bills to tell us that it's a little bit like we need to enforce the laws that we have.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't need another law. We need to enforce those laws and direct that in that way. So what is the advantage? Because if you're, this was bipartisan, the GORP. And what compromise were we making to get GORP? Instead of, because you know that if, and I'm feeling like it's the environmental groups that are saying, you need to compromise, we need to have more of this, we need to have more federal control, which I question.
Yeah, no federal control. I think the locals should be managing the land.
Yeah.
I really do. So why are
And
we
you
employing
already-
all these government people, these federal land management agencies, to do things that the locals could do just as well, if not better?
Because they live there.
And
they know what they
They
need.
know their land.
Exactly. And we could do that. And we could have a partnership with the federal government so that our locals are the ones that are employed. Our locals are the ones that are monitoring and making sure that people aren't dumping their trash in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Why not the locals?
Yep.
We are given PILT funds, to not use our federal lands. The municipalities do. Why can't we pay for our own employees to manage our public lands? And I see that as a win-win for the local communities. Every community is going to be different. Every local municipality is going to be different. They're going to have different values. They're going to have different, things that are important. And those counties should be able to dictate those processes and how it's managed. Yeah, I'm local control for sure. For sure.
So
And that's
I
what this
don't
does.
see permanent federal control being the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what GORP is. It's permanent.
It is permanent, but it was coordinated.
I don't care if it's coordinated or not. If you have local control,
Yeah,
why
that's
do
the
you-
thing is sitting down with those, when the resource management plans start to be developed, those communities, those local municipalities say, all right, we want coordination. We want to make sure that you're doing what our local strategies say.
That seems to be it's a
It's a
trust,
dream,
but
isn't
very-
it?
Yes. Yeah. I don't
It
see
is.
them necessarily saying, I can agree to that and then say, well, actually in the contract, what it says is this.
Depends on who's reading it. Again.
I love your ideas. I love it. I think that's exactly what we should be doing, and I think that's the direction that I don't agree with the legislation. And it's just me. It's not any group that I represent.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, those
haven't
land
been,
grabs.
I
Yeah.
haven't been convinced that there's anything that is a benefit to us.
And when the federal government steps in, it scares the liver out of me.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what Reagan
we're
said.
here to help, right? The government, and we're here to help.
And that's how you felt before.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
No,
exactly what you said.
thank God GORP isn't a stroke of a pen national monument. That scared us to death.
But why do we need it? I don't see why we need it.
And
So
locals
convince
can
me
do
that
that.
we need it.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm asking you. Convince me that we need it.
Convince you that we need it. I don't think that we. I think once you start digging into those resource management plans of the other areas, and you know where the policies and the administration was at the time, and you go, oh, that's why that was done that way. Oh, that's why that was done that way. But I think that restoring the local control into each of those special management plans as part of the resource management plans, that's the thing is,
And you're
Is
seeing
the-
that's what GORP does.
I'm saying that there's a resource management plan that's going to come out of that. And whether it's, those little pieces of wilderness area here, 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 and here, those little wilderness areas are surrounded by national conservation areas that are able to be managed and timber harvested and things like that. So they really did sit down and come up with, a plan that works for quite a few people. But at the end of the day, they still have to write the resource management plan. That hasn't even been done yet. So it's going to be still another 10-year process to write those resource management plans. But I want the local municipalities to write those resource management plans. Yeah, and it, and that's just, and it's not just GORP. It's the other national conservation area in the south, the Dolores, Montezuma, San Miguel County one. I mean, they worked on that for 15 years. That was a big to-do. And Montrose County did walk away from that table, and they knew that the West End wouldn't be okay with what they were trying to do. Our Year-Van mineral belt is super important to the area, super important to critical minerals, and we wanted nothing to do with that.
So what do you think the environmentalists, who are the people that are staying at the table and really have the money to make and influence changes, what is their goal?
Ooh, that's called rewilding the West. Yeah, their goal is to, they all have different goals, all the user groups, all the conservation groups. Some of them want to just lock it up and throw away the key and not let anybody in. Some of them want, to raft on the river and, and we want our, trail here. But.
And do those represent the people that actually live in the community?
No.
So that's the problem that I have. You're saying, we want to tell you how you have to live by these groups, and those groups are at the table negotiating what this needs to look like. That's not their area. Again, it's not their
they're
lane.
collaborators, and they need to stay in their collaborating lane, and they can have input. But at the end of the day, they're a collaborator. They're not a coordinator, and they should not be making the decisions for the local municipalities. And that's where they need to stay in their lane.
So why even have it?
That's a good question. But again, coordination will make sure that the local communities are writing those plans.
Well, that's the way it should be. It should be strictly local. The federal government should not have any say whatsoever.
Yeah.
And we sound like we're out on the ridge, huh?
No, it's there's so many aspects to it. It's just very, very complex, and I'm sure that the conversations that happened over the last 10 years brought those people to the table. But at the end of the day, those counties and those municipalities have made the decision to support GORP, and that is in their purview, and that is their responsibility. And if they want to do that, then they are more than welcome to do that. Montrose County, we don't support the national monuments. We want to make sure that our way of life is protected. Our mining is protected, our water is protected, and the things that we like to do in our backyard are protected. And by God, if we see a road closed, it makes us furious.
Sure.
There's a big wilderness study area outside of town, and the neighbor said, Aimee, we didn't even know until it was done. They didn't even get a notice in the mail that said, oh, by the way, we're going to put a wilderness area in your backyard. No, that should never, ever have been done without those local municipalities.
Agreed, and that's
sitting
why
at the
we
table.
are where we are.
Yeah,
It comes without warning.
yeah. It does. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. But at the end of the day, those counties agree to that, and
And it just worries
that's
me
where
that
Jeff Hurd
GORP
is.
is just, okay, we'll step back from the monument. We'll do GORP, and then we'll attack the monument again. It's just, to me, a kind of a process. They're figuring out a way around you. So beware.
Yes. No national conservation area has ever turned into a national monument.
Yet.
There's
Or
a
not
precedence
even
that's been set,
Yeah.
and it hasn't happened. So I'm going to, defer to the Supreme Court on that one. That's a precedent that has been set. No national conservation area has turned into a national monument. Presidential proclamations of national monuments have turned into national parks, but no national conservation area has ever turned into a national monument.
I'm not so worried about it turning into a national monument. I'm worried that it's
Yeah.
still not representative of the people that live there and work there and are making their living there, and that it just needs to be, up to you. You already have all sorts of safeguards in there to protect wilderness. There's already wilderness areas. There's already national conservation areas. It's all there.
So why do you have to go to the next step?
To me, it's just doing what you say. It's already in there. Let's get it. Let's get our representatives.
And like the special management areas it's more of an organizational thing. It's like, this is what we have to have in the book. This is our little area, and this is what, we feel the concerns are, and this is what, needs to happen here. It's a guideline for them, but it's a guideline that has to be written with the local municipalities. I mean, we can say they're all, GAP 3 protected BLM U.S. Forest Service lands. That's fine, but there still has to be that resource management plan
So you
where
just
these
need people in each of those groups to come in, each of those communities to say, okay, this is what's happening.
we need the counties to step up and
Yeah.
invoke coordination.
Yep.
That is exactly what we need.
Yep.
Is they need to invoke
And
coordination.
you're working on that.
And I'm working on that.
And
Yeah.
we're behind you.
Thanks. Let's coordinate.
Coordinate.
Yeah.
Never heard that word before.
Oh my gosh. I was like, what? What is coordination?
You are educating us on
I
this.
am. So yeah. So I definitely have lots of slideshows and PowerPoint presentations, but yeah, I'm
And
all
where
about.
do you put those? So that
I've got
people
them on
can
my
watch?
Facebook page, and I've got a YouTube channel that I do. But I'll send them over to you. It's definitely an interesting concept, the whole coordination. There are so many laws that say we have to coordinate, we have to coordinate. Let's do it. And let's see it in the
Let's
resource
stop
management
talking
plan.
about it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, is I want to see it in the resource management plan. I want a directive from Congress to the Department of Interior, because that's the only way we're going to be able to hold the federal
Hold the feet to the
government
fire. Yep.
accountable for what happens on our public lands. And, it works out with everything, even the National Environmental Protection, the NEPA studies. They have to coordinate with those local municipalities. They can't just say, hey, we're going to do this little plan and the poor little sage grouse and the poor little suckerfish and, no. You have to coordinate on that NEPA study. You can't just go do a study and say, this is what it is. You have to coordinate on it. And that's where we need to be, is these counties and these municipalities need to invoke the law and hold their feet to the fire.
Okay.
So I think that's a good place
Yeah.
to stop.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate learning so much.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're digging in, because we can't dig into everything. But if you would put some resources out there where people can look at some of this. I know not hardly anybody does. They go, oh, how thick is that book again?
Yeah, I mean, it is too. It is too.
And what kind of language do they use?
But
Is
if
it
you look at
interesting?
Garfield County, oh my gosh, yeah, they've got a great setup.
So if Garfield County, what would I look at if I was going to Garfield County?
On their county commissioner webpage, they've got the federal agency coordination policy and plans on there. They've got a little booklet, one of those e-books
Oh, okay.
on
Okay.
there. I stole a lot from them, but yeah, it is a requirement. The Secretary of Interior shall coordinate with the local municipalities on their strategies and processes. They can't just willy-nilly. And that's one thing that Garfield County and these other counties,
Yeah.
have determined, and make
Well,
sure that
it's
they.
a little bit like Mesa County, I think, in saying we're not going to pay for unfunded mandates.
Yes.
And so if you can organize all those counties to say, we need this has been lacking, and organize the counties again,
Yeah.
that seems to be.
I'm working on it with Club 20, so hopefully.
Club 20 here.
Yeah. Yep. So hopefully we can get that process approved in some policies, and we're talking about a town hall,
Yes.
to discuss
Very
that.
Yes.
definitely.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm so excited. I'm
And
so
with
excited.
your town hall, how you were describing it before, maybe you have a pro and con group that are standing there, because that was interesting to me that they all showed up, and only the people that were pro
Yeah.
Dolores or the
in
monument.
the
Yeah,
college.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
I got there early.
I
We got
know
there
you
early.
said, yeah.
Thank God.
Right?
Because we had to jump in line. And if you were even a little bit later than that, you wouldn't have gotten a turn in line.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
And that
that
was pretty
keeps-
amazing.
So with your town hall that you're thinking about having, where and what and who would you?
It'd be something that Club 20 is organizing.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm sure they'll advertise that.
And that
Have
just
to
one
be a
little
place that would be
suggestion.
Yeah.
Pretty large. because
Yeah.
I think
And-
there
Or
are a
even
lot of
online.
people.
Yeah.
and,
yeah.
and no charge, because that is the thing that I see most often is a lot of those things like the Energy Summit. It's $75. It's during the day, and people are like, well, one, I think if it's an Energy Summit and it's something I need to know, that shouldn't be a cost item, and it shouldn't be 75, and it's not conducive to people that are working. So a town hall
Yeah.
definitely needs to be a non-pay unless it was just to rent the room.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
And where people all felt like they got a chance to, and not just us telling you, okay, this is it, presenting everything, but giving people a lot of opportunities to talk.
Yeah, and put the information out there, and that way they can ask questions and make sure that their municipalities are doing that.
Yes.
You know,
yes,
and and just to see the land manager, show up in person to a
Right.
meeting and sit across the table. Those relationships are important because right now it's a fight. Well, I'm not going to let that guy on my property. I'm not going to let the BLM guy on my property, the CPW guy on my property. You know, the people are upset and they're shutting their gates to them.
Understood.
And that's,
And
that's not
you're
good.
right.
That's not going to help anybody.
No.
But if they are sitting there at the table and looking these people in the eye and saying,
And
this is
kind
what
of,
we
yeah.
feel needs to happen, and this, they can sit from an office and do whatever they want. But if you are sitting in front of somebody, it is way different than sitting on
Totally
Zoom.
Oh,
different.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if they all know this is what his job is.
Yes, his
And-
job is to coordinate.
Yes, his
Yeah.
job is to coordinate. But I mean, what kind of responsibilities they have now? Because if you ask me, what do they do? I'd go,
See, and I think if they coordinated properly, that a lot of those issues that are going on wouldn't even happen.
Non-issues.
Non-issues. As a coordination committee or a coordination effort, we could say, hey, the range management guy is going to be here on this date, and all our ranchers and all our allotment holders can go in and sit at the same table with him
Right.
and get the same answers at the same time. Right now, oh, I saw him in the field that day. I saw him in the field that day. He told me this. He told me that. Well, that's not what I got out of that conversation. He told me this. But if those land management agencies have to sit across the table from all of our allotment holders and look them in the eye and tell them, that's a whole different
A whole different.
mindset and a whole different process.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think things like that would really, really help with the relationship. It's strained already. People are upset and they're mad, but I think if the managers spent more time coordinating and less time
dictating.
fighting the
Or
collaborators
dictating.
or appeasing lawsuits, then we wouldn't have these issues. But most importantly, I think
It's just
coordination, cooperation,
old-fashioned
collaboration needs
talk.
to have,
talk.
and face to face, eyeballs. I love
Yes.
seeing your eyeballs, Ruth.
Yes.
You know, and that's it too. You know, on Zoom I can't see your eyeballs. You know, but it's like,
no.
you know, you get the vibe and you get the sincerity and you get the same answers at the same time,
At
and
the
I
same
think that
time.
is so important. Because the ranchers are concerned. They're working on their V fences. They're the RFDs on the cows. Things like that. It's like, but I mean, it's an answer here, and oh, I saw the manager the other day. No, let's sit down at the table, have an agenda that we can run through, and the fires. So the prescribed burns. You don't even know when they're happening until you see it on Facebook or if you see a fire in the
If you see
sky.
a fire, you say, oh,
But if they were sitting down and coordinating with our local municipalities on those
Which
prescribed
they're
burns,
supposed to do.
which they're supposed to do,
Right.
and our fire district.
Everybody's ready.
Everybody's ready, and we could go, hey, this part we know is really, really bad. Can we burn this year and not this year? But to sit down and have those conversations with the locals that live there on the land, I think is super important.
Can't
You know,
argue
same thing
that
with
at all,
with
Aimee.
GORP or with an NCA or with just the regular land management. That's what needs to happen. Yeah, I just feel strongly on that whole coordination process, and that's a way that we can really solve
Yeah.
these
That's the way
conflicts.
Any
Yes.
issues should be resolved.
Yeah,
Local,
but
Local
yeah.
people that are impacted
Yep.
by it should have a say
Yeah.
in what's happening.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful now that the recall has gone through that maybe I can present to Montrose County and say, hey, this is something that you need to lead. You need to lead the effort on as the county. The municipalities in Nucla and Natarita can only do so much, and they only have so much authority. What happens on those public lands definitely affects their property taxes and sales tax. But at the end of the day, the counties need to take a lead on it. And make sure that those land management agencies are doing that.
Yep. So that sounds good. You've
Yeah.
been watching Mesa County Compass. This is the facts as we know them, the truth as we see it. You decide.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Aimee.
Aimee.
You're
for coming
welcome.
on.
Thank
Appreciate
you.